Here with my colleague Will Carfor, he will do the second session. But let me quickly run to you who we are. Tenece is an indigenous ICT consulting company. We're over 9 countries. We're in Ghana, Uganda, Mauritius, South Africa, and Ethiopia. All right, so this is what we play in. We play in enterprise service center, product leasing, OEM partnership. We have partnership with Huawei, Dell, HP, and all that, right? So we also do our web applications, in-house, right? We also have a vision to be the foremost enterprise technology consultant by 2030. So I'm going to just run through this. We have service offering in hardware, software, enterprise security application. It will interest you that all the banks in Nigeria run on our own security applications, right? And we also have over 370 customers and accounts. We have partnership with ISPs like MTN. So we run fiber infrastructure for our clients, schools, government. We do public sector, IGL applications as well. We have technology partners which are all there. Because of time, I won't go through. But we have over 1,187 projects across all tertiary institutions. It's also important to mention here that we're the partners in UN and FUTO, Ebonyi State University, across other institutions in Nigeria. Now, like I said earlier, so we do enterprise applications, enterprise security and infrastructure and managed services. These are some of our applications. We have a school management application that runs from admissions to result checking. We also have a CBT application. We have other products like a resource edge. Our resource edge is for personnel management. So we organize for every institution for your HR and personnel services, appraisal and all that. I also want to talk about this as I close and my colleague takes over. We understand the challenges we have with power supply in our homes and in our schools. And it will also know that some schools are beginning to adopt the solar farms, projects to substitute because it's very expensive to pay for diesel. So we have an application, we have a product for schools, and it's called Tenece Power. So for your inverters and batteries, so we have a stand. You can come after this session. We can discuss on how we can tailor your needs to your solution. I want to introduce my colleague for the next session. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I really don't know the magic I want to do with less than 7 minutes, but let me try my best, right? So, finally, I actually like this topic, so I'm just going to go back, right? So, I highlighted 2 things, accelerating and strategic, right? So, we realize that in tertiary institution, we have failed to accelerate anything that is IT. We've done a lot of things without accelerating, and it's a funny thing because the world has moved way beyond where we are right now, and we are still struggling in where the world was like how many years ago. And I'm going to tell you one very important thing about conferences like this. It is in conferences like this that we have discussions that actually leads to strategies, right? So in the 1800s, there was something called coffee shop culture. Coffee shop culture was essentially where people come together and have discussion. It's called intersubjectivity. Intersubjectivity is basically discussion had over one conscious mind, where we come together like conferences like this, talk about our problems, our individual problems in our school, and come together to profile a solution. And I'm going to tell you that conferences like this is actually the beginning of, us changing the dynamics of IT in our tertiary institutions. And, these are an overview of what the typical problem that most of our institutions have, and is low internet connectivity. I can tell you, I've done this assessment in over 50 schools in Nigeria, and everybody's echoing the same thing every single time. And it's not their problem because I can only make something cheap for me when I find a way to make it cheap. Internet service providers don't have a way of making it cheap for themselves, so they're not going to make it cheap for us, right? But there are solutions to this, and as I go on, I'm going to tell you that outdated infrastructures, a lot of our schools have outdated infrastructures, a lot of them, and we need to start doing things about that. Limited access to digital tools. Now, how is ICT going to play a role in this particular, in the problem that, or the deficiencies that we have? Improving efficiency, right? Another thing is accessibility. I need to say this to most of the ICT directors here, please. We need to move from doing interventions for decoration to start assessing our interventions for usability and utility. And let me explain that. I've been to a lot of schools, and when you go to their store, they will have over 100 radios for for Wi-Fi, for internet connectivity. And the next intervention, they will tell you, sir, buy another radio. And my question is, what is this radio doing inside your store if you're not using it? I schooled in UNN, and I'm a science student, and the only time we use microscope is when we hear that people from Abuja are coming for inspection, and all of us could just pay for microscope like this, right? So, Nigeria need to move away, and this is why we train. This is why we train people that are not market fit, right? You're training people to go into war, a gun war, but you're training them on how to use cutlass to fight. It's a dead on arrival. Right, and we need to change that dynamic. The quality of learning needs to change. And I actually like what FlexiSAP or something like that is doing. Example of what they are doing is what they call distinction, that personalizes learning. I will tell you one thing that happened, right? We have failed in learning and in teaching, especially in the IT industry in Nigeria, because we force everybody to learn the way we think they should learn. Some students naturally learn by listening. Some learn by imaging. Some learn by hearing. Different people, different strokes for different folks. But the typical Nigerian school will force you to sit down and listen to a lecturer dictate a lot of notes that you do not actually care about, and the notes that he has been dictating for the past 40 years, that when you go into the industry, it is almost useless, right? So, and the only people that can save us right now is basically every single person here, all our IT experts. Because the power of learning has moved from our administrative people to the IT. The only people that can change things right now are actually our DICTs. Maybe let me just use my phone. Okay. Basically our DICTs, and these are basically the key drivers to digital transformation. First is visionary leaders, and I've said that our ICT directors, you must have vision, right? I had a conversation with one ICT director, and I fell in love with him, right? The man kept on telling me, in the next 5 years, the next 1 year, I am going to do this with my intervention. Last year, this is what I did with my intervention. This is the partners I'm trying to bring to our school to achieve. You see that this guy has a goal. If you're an ICT director and you don't have a vision, it's going to affect, and the cascading effect is colossal. It's going to affect a lot of things. So I encourage us to, try as much as possible to have a mission and vision and what we want to achieve every single year. And it has nothing to do with intervention most times. It actually has something to do with mentality and your physiology to work, right? Ensuring sustainable ICT investment. There was something government, I'm trying as much as possible to speak, and I think I'm doing a good job at that, right? So there was something government wanted to do about, I think 8 years ago. It's called finishing school. Finishing school was essentially saying, when you're done with school, come and do practical of what you have done, right? I'm going to come to, that's what I'm trying to explain this. There are partnerships and there are sustainable investment that you can do with companies like Tenece, which an example of them is Learnable. Learnable is a program that we do where we teach people how to code, right? Now, when government wanted to do this, the idea was, if you study computer sciences, you're going to have 6 months of constant coding. If you did mechanical engineering, you're going to have 6 months of practicalizing what you studied. But let me shock you. We started our Learnable program, and a computer science student will walk into our hub to learn how to code. And you tell this student to write HTML, he does not know what you're talking about. Let me give you a typical example of what I'm trying to say. A person when they do medicine, you tell him, mix sand and cement. He cannot do it. Can you see that there is something fundamentally wrong with our system of learning? And I'm telling you that the only person that can change things are people here, all our DICTs. And I'm encouraging us to do that. And there are partnerships that you can do with Tenece. Learning partnership that will change your curriculum. And also, you might not really have the power to change your curriculum directly because of NUC and the rest, but you can have these trainings by the side that you use to, make your students market fit and employable, right? Another collaboration is basically collaboration with government, right? Tenece also did something some years ago with UNN that changed a lot of things in UNN. UNN met Tenece and said, okay, we are going to put, one of the things that we are going to put as prospective tools is that every student must have a laptop. Obviously, there was a pandemonium and uproar because, parents were like, don't have the money to buy this and blah, blah, blah. So what we did, because we have a partnership with OEMs like Dell, was to subsidize the money ridiculously, right? And schools were able to buy this thing. If someone can just say, oh, it's just a laptop, you have no idea how much this is going to affect students in their learning. Someone carried out a statistics and said that one of the reasons why people are failing JAMB is not because this generation, they don't read, but that aside, it's not only because they are not reading, but the fact that a student has gone all his life and the first time he's seen a laptop to write a CBT exam is during JAMB. I have been using computers since God knows when, and I went to write project management by DMI in Lagos. I've been using laptop and I got in there. It took me almost 30 minutes to coordinate myself. I was saying, where is mouse? Where is this one? For over 30 seconds, I was struggling. Now imagine a student that has never seen laptop to walk into an exam hall and he's struggling with system. What do you think is going to happen? Which brings me back to what I say. We need to stop doing interventions for doing intervention's sake, but for utility and usability. Our systems that are lying inside the store are not there for decoration. Students should start using them. And I'm going to speed up. Another thing is capacity building. Like I said, we also help schools. Genesis Curriculum and Genesis Tech Hub, we help schools to do training. Now, this is a typical comparison of an analysis that shows Nigerian students and global students. Now, ICT exposure, limited, ridiculously limited, right? Why? Because we lack practical skill and, obviously, narrow skills, global network, limited, job market competitiveness, very limited. Now, I'm rounding up, right? So, challenges to, challenges to implementing ICT leadership in Nigerian tertiary institution. Obviously, infrastructure is our biggest problem, and thank God for something like Tech Fund and some other parastatals that help schools to do better. Also, Tenece can also help schools with infrastructure. Subsidize a lot of things because of our third-party and offshore partnership with most OEMs that you know. Limited digital literacy. This is one of the biggest problems that we have. FUTO is trying to tackle this. I wish I had time. I had a lot of things to say. FUTO is trying to tackle digital literacy by conducting a training in the school that is going to handle both academic and non-academic staff to make sure that they catch up to the pace of what the reality of life is. But I don't have time to go into that. Now, funding and resource allocation, obviously a very big problem, and resistance to changes. There's something called, what's that thing called again? I think it's called cultural inertia, where people don't want to change. We prefer what we are used to. To be honest, a lot of us here don't like changes, but I'm encouraging our DICTs. You have to find a way to be strategic. I'm actually done, so I'm just going to round up. You have to find a way to be strategic to start implementing ICT so that we can start churning out employable children. Because if you go into the industry right now and see the amount of half-baked students we have there, is shocking. And I'm encouraging us to do as much as we can do. And we partnership with people like Tenece, Genesis, and the rest of them. Trust me, you just need to do very little and we'll carry the rest for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tenece.